Hi guys, and welcome to this tutorial of the ezPostFx plugin. I'm going to be demonstrating today how to use the depth of field effect inside your scenes. This is a new effect that's available in the plugin from version 1.00. So let's go ahead and create a new scene, and I'll just give it a name. So before we show you an example of how you can use a carousel with the depth of field effect, I want to explain a few simple things about the plugin. So I'm just going to grab two images and drop them into my scene. And I'm just going to position them side by side. And let's scale this up a bit so we can see what's happening. So now I have two containers in my scene that are both at the 0 point on the z-axis, and this is important because the depth of field plugin will set the focus on a container depending on its position in the z in your scene space. So let's go ahead and add a new empty container to the top of my scene tree here. I'm just going to go to built-ins, Erizos, geometry plugins, and grab the ezPostFx plugin and drop it there onto my container. And now you see in the new version we have the depth of field parameter, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn that on. Now you see once I've turned it on, we get this really high quality Gaussian blur on the containers. The reason that blurred out is because the focal plane of the plugin doesn't match the Z position of the containers in the scene space. So I'm just going to play with the focal plane until I find the focus point of the containers. Okay, there we go. Now my containers are in focus, and let's go ahead and move one of the containers in the Z, move it back, and now you can see when it moves in the Z, it either be in focus, like over there, or it loses focus when it moves further back, and the same when it gets closer to the camera. So that's basically how the effect works. Everything is based on the Z-axis of your scene space. Let's go ahead and create a image carousel where the center image or container is in focus and the containers behind it will be out of focus. So I'm just going to go here and turn off the depth of field effect, and let's remove these images. Now I'm going to grab these screen captures from our Twitter account that I grabbed earlier and just drop that into my scene. Let's reset the scaling here to 2. To create the carousel effect, I'm going to be using the ezCarousel plugin. So just go into built-ins, control plugins, Erizos, and grab the ezCarousel plugin and drop that there on my parent container. So let's go ahead and set up some values here. I want to have a nice big depth between the containers so we can really see the depth of field effect taking place. So let's set that to 300. The display size, let's set that to about 100. The center will also make that a bit bigger. And let's rotate them a bit on the Y. Okay, so if I play with the progress of the plugin, we can see that we have an image, or one of the containers comes to the front center of the screen, and we can still see the other tweets behind it. And what we want to do is blur these out or take them out of focus and just focus on the main container that's in the front. So let's go back to the ezPostFx plugin and we'll turn on the depth of field again. Okay, so now the Z position of this container is different to the example that I showed you before. So the focal plane needs to be updated again. So in the previous example, I just showed you by playing with the focal plane value to find the position of the focus that you want. And it's a bit of a hit and miss method to work. So I want to show you two different methods that we've implemented inside the plugin that makes it really easy for you to find and focus on the container that you want in your scene. So the first one I'm going to show you is the debug parameter over here. If I go ahead and turn that on, so you can see that it's hidden all the objects in my scene except for the objects that are in focus. So if I go ahead and I'll play with this value again. So now you can see that the focus is on the back containers, and if I keep moving it, now I can see that only the container in the front and center is in focus. So let's go ahead and turn off the debug, and you can see that now the back containers are out of focus. This is really handy when you have multiple objects in your scene and you really want to clearly see which of the containers are in focus and which are not. You just go ahead and turn that on and it will show you all the containers in your scene that are in focus. Really handy and easy way to debug your scene. So that's nice, but it still requires us to manually move the focal plane value parameter, which is still cumbersome. So the second method I want to show you is how you can select one of the containers in your scene to focus on it. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the E button here in my scene is turned on. And then while I hold down the F button on my keyboard, I will click on the containers in the preview window and you'll see that the focus gets adjusted. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to hold down the F button on my keyboard and click on the back containers. And you can see that the focus now jumps to those containers. Let's do it again and set the focus back to the center container. And there you go. That updates the focal plane value for us and sets the focus on the container that we want. So now I can go ahead and play with the progress value of the Easy Carousel plugin. And you can see that each time one of the containers comes to the center, it's in focus and the containers behind it are blurred out. So that wraps up this tutorial. I hope you learned how to use the plugin. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel and our website where we have a lot of resources for all of our products. Until next time.